Unbelievable. We're 10 weeks into the NRL season. Ryan Solvich, Tommy Hudson back with you tonight. This is the SuperCoach365 podcast, and it's a magical week, Tommy. Magic round. And sorry to break some bad news to you all, and a couple of you have actually asked us. We're not going this year. We said we wouldn't. Once again, we've failed to deliver on one of our promises.
Yeah, good day. And we also said today already in our private chats that we're going to go up next year, but I don't know. I wouldn't hold us to it. We're kind of not too trustworthy when it comes to this. I'd love to go up though. It does look like a great week. But yeah, onto a SuperCoach topic, and I've been struggling. How you been going?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad myself. Obviously, we didn't do a podcast last week to wrap up round 8 after what was a very different Anzac-looking weekend. Footy obviously ended last Tuesday, so we're back here tonight. So apologies off the top for that, but just recapping our ranks and our scores as it is at the end of round 9. It's on your screens here if you are watching on the YouTube tonight. You asked me the question, so I'll answer you. My round 9 score, 1,192, a total score of 10,437, and a season rank of 552. So well inside that top 1,000 now.
Yeah, flying along. That's really good. I believe you said you've entrenched yourself in the top 1,000. I agree with that. It's looking good.
I don't know if I use those words, but I just said it was nice to wake up on Monday morning inside the top 1,000.
Yeah, well, it is. Imagine how that would feel. I can't imagine it myself. I'm down in the 4,000s, 4,412 season rank. Still top 3%, so that probably sounds better. I'll lead with that instead. But yeah, last week was a tough one. I got lucky with a couple of trade-ins that I changed last week with Latrell and Dylan Brown coming in, and they both went really well. But definitely run out of numbers, really. I was playing Sonny Luke and Ray Stone, so that really says it all.
Sort of was a bit like that last week, wasn't it? With Payne Haas out and Ezra Mam in your case, and obviously the Melbourne Storm guys had the bye, Harry Grant, Cameron Munster, some with Nick Meaney as well. So it was almost a bye round come early, and one that you had no heads up that you weren't planning for. So that made it a little bit tricky, but to still be inside the top 3% like you are, credit to you so far. Speaking of some of those big names that we've mentioned already and ones that we will mention more tonight, we have to start with probably some sour news, like Tom Trbojevic and Ryan Papenhuyzen, SuperCoach guns of the previous 2 or 3 years. They're just absolutely cast at the moment. Can't get on the field, probably won't be on the field for some time in Papenhuyzen's case. Even Nathan Cleary to a degree. Not his best, he's playing injured, not goal kicking as well. So there's some names out there that are finding a little bit tricky at the moment, and that's probably affecting SuperCoach scores as well.
Yeah, and if you're like me, who sort of is very loyal to the big names like Turbo and Cleary, and not Papenhuyzen this year, but generally I would be, you're sort of starting to pay for it a little bit. I mean, I've obviously kept Cleary, kept Turbo right up until last week when he was ruled out late on, so it has come at a price. And look, I think Turbo will be back this week, fingers crossed anyway. But I had to sell him, and I know you've got rid of him also.
Yeah, he was a late out for me last week. So we did post our final teams on our Instagram last Thursday night before the Sharks-Cowboys game, and Turbo not confirmed out until that Friday morning. So I actually was lucky enough to go via a couple of duels, Turbo to Hopgood. So that actually worked out to be a nice move, and Hopgood, another triple-figure score, someone who's playing very well and finding himself back in the run-on team there at Parramatta. A couple of others playing well. We'll make this a little bit more positive. Campbell Graham, he's just flying at the moment. So too Latrell Mitchell. And Latrell, we mentioned these Souths names at the start of the year with that draft focus. Suddenly these big Souths players, Cody Walker, throw him in this chat as well, they're standing up, and now's the time to do it, knowing that they're going to play, through that bye period, which is fast approaching.
Yeah, I was going to say we slept on the South players. I definitely did to a degree. I actually sold Latrell Mitchell earlier in the year, and that was silly in hindsight because he's went massive the last few weeks. You got Cody at a great time.
Yeah.
So you've played that really well, and that's showing with your rank. So, yeah, South, I think, flew under the radar a little bit. They had a hard draw to start and the draft connotations at the end of the year. But, yeah, it's looking good now. I mean, Latrell, I brought him in last week purely for his ceiling. His longevity in the team, I don't know, because obviously he's got Origin looming very shortly.
yeah, obviously I said they play Origin there, and we expect Latrell not to figure for Souths during that window, and Campbell Graham probably will be looking like he's going to make his Origin debut as well. So keep an eye on that. Cody Walker, the standout for mine. Just in a difficult position there at 5'8". He's really been a saving grace for myself. More good news coming for super coaches as well. The confirmation that so we're going to see more dual position players or upgraded additional positions coming to a whole heap of players. Some of these names that have already been confirmed, maybe not too Supercoach relevant at the moment anyway, but ones that we're keeping our eye on. Joey Manu, Luke Keary and Matt Burton, all expected to find, or in Manu's case, he'll find the 5'8", and the other two will gain halfback eligibility. So that could be some good news, some big news for Supercoaches in the next 6-7 weeks with Origin in mind.
Yeah, Manu's a massive one, obviously not playing Origin due to his nationality. 5'8", it helps having that coming in if it does. I've already picked him up, but I'd say his ownership will go sort of through the roof if he's got that dual status as well. Keary, I mean, yeah, I don't know if you're playing with him maybe in a draft. And Matt Burton is an interesting one. Now he's got the 7 on his back.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought of him for a few weeks, but whether or not he plays Origin is probably the big question. We keep saying, all these players will make Origin, but not all of them can. So someone's going to miss out. It could be Matt Burton.
Well, you think particularly if Latrell's fit, because he came in for Latrell last year on that left centre role for New South Wales, played well, probably any other year would be deserving of a spot, but we think Latrell has to be there. And Burton, with that left foot kicking game, you think he's more left side. So if Turbo's not fit, makes sense for them to bring in a natural right centre in Campbell Graham and not to throw Burton to the other side of the field. Jack Whiten not playing Origin probably even hurts Burton more so, just because I don't feel like they can carry Burton a half outside back utility when you can probably do that with a Nico Hines, even with coverage, covers the halves as well, goal kicks. I mean, I think I said to you before we press record tonight, you can't have Hines and Burton both in this squad for New South Wales.
Yeah, I just don't see where they fit in. And then if you look at the last couple of years, they've often went Cook and Coruscant, both in the 17. So that, again, is their utility on the bench. So maybe not Matt Burton in Origin. That could mean for super coaches, if he's a dual as well, he's definitely an option. They don't play the 13th round, the Dogs, but I'm pretty sure they play maybe the other 2 bye rounds. So look into that, yeah. So definitely an option.
Rightio, let's get stuck into the bulk of the podcast tonight. Before we do, just a reminder, if you are watching us here on the YouTube, to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Give us a thumbs up, leave us a couple of comments as well. And if you are listening on the podcasts, 5-star reviews, and share it to someone else who hasn't been listening so far this season. I don't know why you wouldn't be listening. We're doing all right. Still a long way to go, though, so we will keep our powder dry. For now, of course, and all of this not possible without the support of topsport.com.au. Big bumper weekend of Magic Round coming up, and no better time to sign up to TopSport if you aren't already a customer. Use the code SuperCoach365. The boys, Tristan and the team up there on the Gold Coast, they'd be G'd up for a big weekend of Magic Round as well. NBA Finals just around the corner, the playoffs at the moment. So busy time of the year for the team up there, and no doubt they're doing good things and looking forward to the footy this weekend as much as you and I, Tommy. And of course, that all starts Friday night. No Thursday game this week. The Bulldogs and your Raiders to kick us off.
Yeah, my Raiders beat your Dolphins last Saturday.
That was bullshit, game, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was definitely unlucky. And they've come out and even admitted the NRL that it was the wrong call. So I don't know if that makes Dolphin fans feel any better. Probably makes them feel worse, to be honest.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we did get the win into Magic Round here against the Doggies, who have a few names back. I think that's where we'll start. Karaz and Max King are both back in the team.
Yep.
They've both been Supercoach relevant this year. Karaz has come from really nowhere to be a really great CTW option. His base stats are incredible. And then Max King, Mr. Consistent really in that Dogs pack with all the injuries they have. He's been really the silver lining for their team.
Do we actually reckon Max King plays? Like, it was only last week or 2 weeks ago when we thought he was out 4 to 6 weeks. So, seems like I don't know why they'd name him and not play him, but it's just odd. I feel like it's just quicker than we expected.
Both him and Karaz are ahead of schedule. So I don't know if that says that or maybe they are just fit, or maybe
Yep.
the fact they have so many other injuries, like Braden Burns is another one this week who is out. Maybe they just need to rush these guys back, and whether or not they're underdone, we'll wait and see.
Raiders favourites here, topsport.com.au, $1.60 here with the bookies. Bulldogs outsiders at $2.35 the line. 3.5 start, the Bulldogs are getting that. So read into that what you will. We're expecting a tight game here. What do you make of the young gun, Kyle Olowapu, off the bench the other day, and again named to come in jersey number 14 here? I think he, at the moment, is just a 5/8 eligible player. So I don't know if we're running him over one of those guns in those origin periods, but 43, I think it was, SuperCoach points on debut off the bench. It was pretty tidy numbers.
Yeah, it was a good knock, and it wasn't a game that was really set up for SuperCoach. It was quite a tight, low-scoring match, so did well. I think it's all about minutes for him. If I feel like he is obviously the long-term six, or at least in the halves.
Yep.
And Reynolds, maybe in the next few weeks, Reynolds will be taking more of a back seat, and we could see Olopo, how do you even say his name? Oloapu start for the Dogs, and then he might start in some more SuperCoach teams following that.
We've already mentioned Matty Burton there, like giving that dual position status. Do we think he's a buy? Obviously, we're going to have Hines. We think Origin duty. Cleary most definitely Origin duty. The thing for me with a lot of these other names, they either have the buy in round 14 or they've just got tough runs. If you look at the case of Sean Johnson, he's got the buy round 12. So if you are moving on potentially from Cleary this week with a break even of 160 odd, do we do it yet, knowing that Burton's dual weights, or do we go to Moses? What do you think in their halfback? Because that's going to be a point of contention.
Yeah, look, I think Burton, in his case, long-term is a good optional. Long-term, I say in maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I would wait, since he's not playing round 13, I wouldn't bother before then, especially when we've got Cleary and Hines playing really up till that stage. But then, like you said there, if he doesn't play Origin, he's going to play round 16 and round 19. I mean, we have to bank on him not getting picked in any of those games for the Blues. But I do think this duel definitely opens it up for him.
What about for the Raiders? And another popular name this week, a trade-in target, Corey Horsburgh. He's been starting in that 13 jersey. I keep hearing his name thrown up for Origin potentially as well. I think he scored a 98 the other day. He's playing massive minutes, bigger minutes than even Joey Tarpanay's playing. So offloads the footy as well. He looks great. He passes the eye test. But again, can you get him in with that, with all this Origin chat?
Yeah, well, I did last week. I went to him as a sort of from Payne Haas to Corey Horsburgh. Saved a lot of money doing it, and Payne Haas was obviously out. But yeah, he's almost like the Tarpanay of 2023 in a way. This Raiders forward who's starting to take all the minutes, all the carries, all the points really. So he's looking great at the moment, but I guess that is the cloud on the horizon if he does make Origin. It wasn't something you would have thought of 6 weeks ago, but all of a sudden his form is warranting it.
Yeah, they've got plenty of middle Queensland, and one of them will feature when we talk about the Broncos, but it's hard to argue. You wouldn't have picked him to be making the squad, but he's probably playing as good as any of them, if not better than them. Just some other quick notes here for the Raiders. Xavier Savage is back and on the wing, currently only available at fullback on SuperCoach. So, again, if he starts there for 3 weeks, we won't get his duel by round 12, we don't think. Unless he plays 10-11. No, we won't get it by round 12. So, maybe a long-term play there for Xavier Savage at the Raiders. Second game there, and that name I was alluding to there for the Broncos, of course, Pat Carrigan. And he had to head up the charge for the Broncos last week. Unfortunately, he and the side couldn't get the job done against the Rabbitohs. They were just trounced, the Broncos, without their main man, Payne Haas, up front. But they get him back this week, and they start heavy favourites here with topsport.com.au against the Sea Eagles. $1.32, Brisbane. An away game at Suncorp. Geez, they love rorting this draw, don't they? Manly $3.40 outsiders.
How many games at Suncorp they had this year already? And we're only 10 rounds in. It's unbelievable. They do perform well here, obviously. Last week, I know they lost to South, but they were in that game for a lot of it in the early stages. I think they probably were just due that sort of loss with their players out as well, Mam and Haas especially. I think it'll be a different ball game this week. And going off what I saw from Manly the other day and some of their defensive efforts, you'd be keen on these Brisbane players, I reckon.
not going to get any easier for Manly either, with Jake Trbojevic out, and he is the heart and soul of that defence through the middle. That sees Sean Kepi start up front, and again, one of those sort of, left field SuperCoach options there, dual position eligible player at front row, second row forward. So if you are holding Kepi, or you have held to this point, that's some good news. Brad Parker looks to be back here. Tolatau Kula as well. So maybe some names there for draft, which sees Ruben Garrick move to the wing. And I think that's his preferred position, at least for super coaches. Break even now of 84 this week for Ruben Garrick. If you aren't holding, if you did sell, is this the week you're getting back?
I think so. He's back on the wing, which is good for all owners and those prospective owners. Origin is obviously a great period to own Garrick because he won't make the Blues team. And he's a great goal kicker for Manly, as long as they're not falling in a complete hole. Because if they're gone like they were at the end of last year, he's probably not the best option to go to.
Yep.
Just on Manly, one name that you mentioned a few weeks ago, almost in jest, but Taniela Paseka as a cheap forward option. Ever since then, he's going pretty well, averaging high 50s, low 60s. Jake Turbo's now out as well. That probably only helps his cause. Price might be gone now, $535K, but if you did jump on that very random bandwagon, you'd be happy.
Yeah, what was he when I mentioned him? I think he was 460, maybe 490, heading into that Tigers game. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it work. I would have loved to. I think another name we mentioned that night as well, Mo Fotuaika now. He's playing 70 minutes and getting his name back in Origin chat as well. If we were able to steer you into Paseka, well done. And I think, without Trbojevic, Jake there this week, and I think Toa Fafoa Sipley is also gone on a 3-match suspension. So the Paseka clan, you're cheering.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a very big clan, but they would be cheering. 10.5 is the line here with Top Sport. Brisbane are $1.32. I probably agree with that price. I think they'll bounce back here in a big way at home.
Yeah, I'm scared.
It's an away game.
Yeah. Two games now away from home, albeit both at Suncorp for the Broncos already inside 10 weeks. Anyway, what was I going to say then? Reece Walsh. He was a little bit down last week. I think he scored 25, 24, thereabouts, mid-20s. I sold him. I went to Britain Nakora, which he looked good until he got injured. But I was keen to sell Walsh last week. I know it was going to be a tough watch this week, but I think last week was the go. If you're holding Walsh still, are you playing? Are you selling? What's the go?
Holding for this game, definitely. I think you would even agree, as a non-owner, it's probably going to be a scary watch because even last week, although he didn't play that well, even the second half, he was trying to get very involved in their attack. And if he does that on Friday night, he's going to get more than he got last week. So I think he's a big hold this week. Then they have games against the Storm and Panthers. Then it's Origin. Do we think he'll be there? I mean, it's probably him or Ponga. I know your thoughts on Ponga.
Well, hold on.
But
we weren't going to talk about Newcastle tonight, but you've just put this on a platter for me. Obviously, Newcastle had the bye this week. How shit was Kalen Ponga against the Eels? He was dreadful. I think he missed more tackles than he made.
I'm not going to defend you. He was terrible the other night. He would admit it. But Queensland are known for their loyalty, and in Game 3 last year, I think he was man of the match. So Walsh is no certainty to start for Queensland. I
don't think Ponga should be a certainty to start in the NRL in round 11. He was rubbish. He should be in New South Wales. He's closer to New South Wales Cup than he is Queensland Origin at the moment. I know they'll probably pick him, but you can't tell me that Phoenix Crossan or Tyson Gamble don't make those tackles on Mitchell Moses, whereas Ponga, it was
ugly viewing.
Paper thin.
But these Queensland players, they put on that maroon jersey and they're a different beast. We've seen it time and time again. But we'll see. But back on Walsh, if he doesn't make Origin, you're keeping him through that period. If he does, well, you're probably saying goodbye then.
I hope they pick him. I hope they pick Ponga because that'll be doing New South Wales a favour. Okay, we'll move on here. Unless there's anything more to add there, I think we're holding Walsh if you are holding him. What about Adam Reynolds very quickly? We're going to talk a little bit about halfbacks tonight because that's on the horizon. Nico and Cleary going to Origin. Is Adam Reynolds a genuine option? Because I think they play... what did I say to you? I think he's like the only real halfback option. I know the draw the next couple of weeks is a little bit tricky, but he's the only halfback option which I can confidently say, barring injury, turns up in weeks 10 to 15.
That's true. I'm looking at it now. Absolutely true. They do have a tough run, but he's still going to be there and scoring points. The only negative I would say is a bit further on the line. You still wanted to hold him into those later buys, 16 and 19. He won't be there.
Yeah.
Don't know how far ahead you want to look, but you'd be looking at getting Cleary and Hines back at some stage, but you can't get them back that early because they'll still be in Origin camp. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I don't think I'll go there, but it's not a bad shout.
Definitely a play from left field. We'll push on here. Warriors, Panthers. I think this one 3 p.m. Saturday. I think the Sunday time, 3 p.m. Saturday. Sunday time's a little bit different, but Saturday remains as per business as usual. The Warriors, some good news. They're getting back CNK this week, Tohu Harris as well. For the Panthers, they're getting back JFH, Fisher Harris, of course. So a couple of names coming back for both of these teams. Panthers here, $1.30 favourites. 10.5 is the start. I guess let's talk about Tohu and the impacts perhaps on AFB, because he's going to be a popular trade in, I feel. Fanua Blake, maybe people upgrading from a Welch, even shifting Tarpanay to the 2RF and upgrading a Hosking or a Preston and getting in AFB up top there. But what do we think of Tohu, his impacts back on Fanua Blake?
Oh, it doesn't help AFB, you wouldn't imagine. It's going to eat into his work rate. And I do think his score the other day, I think it was 76, or at least it was before updates, AFB. I think that game was just a SuperCoach forward's dream. Wet 14-0. It was played through the middle the whole time. He played big minutes as well with all the injuries. So I don't think he's going to be scoring that regularly. So maybe he's a little bit of a trap this week, I would say.
Are we tempted to sell Cleary? Just back on that halfback chat. But as I said, 161 games this week. Let me bring it up. Game this week, obviously, against the Warriors. After that, who do they have next week? The Roosters.
Roosters, then Broncos, then Origin.
That Roosters game, I don't think that's at Allianz. I think that's at Penrith Park, if that makes a difference.
Well, I don't know. It's the whole thing with me about Penrith is how they're actually going.
Yeah.
$1.07 last week against the Tigers, and they get beat. Probably the biggest upset we've seen in a long, long time. They're obviously not gone, but they're not playing what they can. Cleary's last two scores, just 60 and 44. I mean, for any normal player, we're saying that's all right, but for Cleary, it's very low.
Yeah. The lack of goal kicking is hurting as well.
Yeah, and what's going on there? Is he getting it? I'm assuming he's getting it back, but is this injury a long-term issue for us to worry about, or we don't know?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's coming to that point in the season now where he's going to be playing, 3 weeks in the run into Origin. He's going to play Origin. Do they rest him in games if they get to a lead? Like, these are things we're going to have to start to consider with Cleary. Stick around for our trading places, but his name will figure at the back end of the podcast tonight, I feel, quite heavily. Anyway, anything else here? Sean Johnson, maybe, while we're talking about halfbacks. Again, I think that round 12 buy hurts prospective Warriors purchases.
Yeah, I probably just don't have much faith in him. I think he's a great player, but the scoring at the start of the year was awesome. But yeah, the round 12 buy definitely hurts, I think.
Okay, now I don't know what we're calling this yet. Is it the Aquarium Derby? Is it the Title Derby? The Dolphins versus the Sharks here. The Sharks, the home team. So I think you'll notice, like, if you look at a lot of the home teams this week, they're sort of the teams that are traditionally struggling for money. They've sold their home games to the NRL, or the NRL's paid them to take their home games away. So no coincidences there why Manly, the home team this week, Sharks as well, Dolphins, again, like the Broncos, the beneficiaries of an away game at their home ground. Sharks $1.36, the line 8.5, the Dolphins $3.15 outsiders. A little bit of injury news here floating around for the Sharks. Braden Hamlin-Uele out. Dale Finucane is back though, so that offsets that. Royce Hunt promoted to start. Cameron McInnes back to the interchange bench. What does he have to do to earn a start in the Sharks team?
Yeah, I know. I know you have him in draft comps. You've been watching him very closely, and I'm someone who've always been a massive fan of him on SuperCoach. But I don't know. He's obviously not out of favour, but they just see him as a bench forward at the Sharks, and it doesn't help if you're owning him. We need to talk about the man. Talk about halfbacks tonight. Nicho Hynes. He's the definition of the man. Forget Anthony Mundine. It's Nicho Hynes at the moment. He is the hottest thing in rugby league, whether it be his play or his looks. Just incredible how good he's going. 89 lowest score this year, averages 120. We struggle to find new superlatives from every week. It's like Turbo in 2021 almost at the moment.
Is it better? I know the scores maybe not as impressive, like Turbo hit multiple 200s that season, but the impact which Hynes has on this team, it's, again, somewhat immeasurable because he just comes in, everyone looks 1.5 times the player they are when he's not there, which worries me a little bit about holding their assets when he is playing Origin, we think, but it's hard to ignore the form. I said here in the run sheet, all the Sharks are scoring well when Nico's there, particularly the wingers and Sifa Talakai. I said, is this the time of the year? Is now the time when we fall into that Sifa Talakai trap again, like we did last year? It's hard to deny his form.
Oh, it is. He's actually playing well. Like I've given him a lot of stick probably because he got picked in Origin. It's not his fault. But he's playing very well. The outside backs, like you said, massive beneficiaries of Nicho Hynes' work, especially Katoa on that right side quite often. And, in the next few weeks, Dolphins, Manly, Newcastle.
Yeah. 3
very winnable games. They'll be favourites in all 3. So these Shark outside backs are looking great. Great high ceiling options, you have to say.
Yeah, I'm loving the look of one of them. It's not Sifa Talakai. Again, stick around for that. Holding Nicho over Origin, are we? I don't think you can hold both Cleary and Nicho. Now, I pulled out a stat today. I sort of run the numbers. I looked at their backups after Origin to when their club teams play again. I'll bring it up to you here. I think in the best case, the absolute best case, for a couple of names at halfback, between rounds 13 and 20, I think Cleary plays maximum 3 games. That's before even considering he's under an injury cloud at the moment. Nicho Hynes plays 2. Be it buys, turnarounds, I think they play Origin 1 in Adelaide. The Sharks play Saturday night in Sydney. So they fly out of Adelaide Thursday morning. Captains run Friday for the Sharks. I don't know Nicho plays that. They have Trindle there. He's an apt replacement. Are you holding Nicho knowing he's probably playing 2 games in 7 weeks?
Yeah, look, initially you asked me this question earlier today and I was like, there's no way I'm getting rid of Nicho Hynes because I don't want to burn 2 trades getting him in and out of the team. But you mount a good argument to sell, really. Probably only gets 2 games. Looking at it now as well, one of them will be away to Melbourne, which obviously isn't easy. I know he's a freak, but it's still not easy for him. And he has a bye in round 17, which doesn't help his cause. The only real, I guess, nice fixture for him is the Dragons in round 18.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it, really, in a 6-week period, like you're saying. So it's very difficult to hold him, as painful as it will be to let him go.
And if the Sharks are, entrenched, you used that word earlier, if they are entrenched in that top 4, top 2 even, and they get a bit of a buffer between themselves and 5th place over that little window, and they're happy to rest where they can. Again, I mentioned the name Trindle. Like we've seen at the start of the year, he's solid. I think he had a couple of mixed results, so they might have won 1, lost 1, or 1-2, lost 1 while he was in the team earlier in the year. But he's better than a New South Wales Cup player.
Yeah, and why would they push Hynes more than they have to? Like you're saying there, they're going to be in the finals. If they're winning enough games to make the top 4, they're not going to be rushing him back after brutal Origins. So, look, probably if you ask me right now, I will be getting rid of him at some stage, but not until I absolutely have to.
Okay, for the Dolphins, looks like Ray Stone is out with a concussion. That's unfortunate because, again, I think he's been one of the best through the middle and shoring up that defence. Robert Jennings is cut. I think that's about time. Tessie New back on that left side. I think he's coming off... Was his last game? No, his last game was against the Broncos. I think that 100 he had against the Knights in round 2 potentially still in his rolling average, so be aware of that. What else we got here? Brenko Lee hobbled from the field. NRL physio suggests he's had up to 6, I think it was, 6 soft tissue injuries on his lower limbs in the past 3 or 4 seasons. So again, Matt Moylan territory there in terms of just the prevalence of picking up repeated hamstring injuries. Apparently a big roar for Valence Tafade at Dolphins training today. Val Meninga, we're thinking he's going to get a debut. I don't think Brenko plays. I think Val comes in on top of Brenko here at right centre.
Val Meninga, that's quite the nickname for someone who hasn't played yet. What side of the field will he play on, do you know?
Yeah, I think Aiken holds the left, and I think Tafade will go to the right side. He played a little bit there in the trials. I think that's the side AKP gave them nightmares in that trial against the Titans.
So he'd be up against Talakai then, and Ronaldo. Yep. Ronaldo first try scorer? What do you reckon? I'm not saying Val Meninga is not going to be bad, but geez, it's a baptism of fire magic round against the Sharks and Nico Hines.
Yeah. Oh well, you got to swim at some point. This could be the week for the Dolphins' youngest gun here. We'll leave it there on that game for now anyway. Storm and Rabbits, they round us out on Magic Rounds Meat and the Sandwich, the Saturday evening here. What am I saying? The 7:45 game, this one. Melbourne against the Rabbits. This is the game of the weekend, on paper at least. Rabbitohs $1.85 head-to-head. The Storm $1.95. At the time of recording on Tuesday night, no line here. So maybe come kickoff, this is a genuine pick-em $1.90 sort of game.
Yeah, well, they only met, I'm going to say 5 weeks ago, these two teams down in Sydney. It was a sort of courageous win from the Storm, actually, on a wet night. Both teams have gone pretty well since, especially South. They're absolutely flying. Yeah. This is a different kettle of fish, though, and historically, the Storm are very good at Suncorp. I mean, a lot of these games have been against Broncos teams who have struggled in the last few years, but still, they don't lose anything going and playing up at Suncorp. It'll be like a home game for them.
Even during those COVID-impacted years where they played a lot of games out of Suncorp or Queensland venues, Sunshine Coast, it seems like these Queenslanders in their team grow an extra leg. They love playing on their home soil. Of course, speaking of Cameron Munster, Harry Grant, even Christian Welch, SuperCoach scores may not transfer on the back of that, but they do enjoy playing in Queensland at least. Just some SuperCoach news here, more so for those still holding Eli Katoa. He's been named to play. Which is, I think NRL Physio was quite critical of this during the week. If you listen to his Magic Sponge podcast, he says that this is actually day 11 of the 11-day stand down, and they're playing. So it's effectively a 10-day stand down. No player will ever miss 2 games thanks to concussion. So, yeah, I mean, just a little quirk of the interpretation there. For the Rabbitohs, Davvy Moale, he's out of the squad. So that dream of him making plenty of cash for us at front row forward, it may be done.
I thought he'd been playing well, or I thought you'd been saying he'd been playing well. Maybe he'd been scoring okay on SuperCoach, but yeah, interesting to see him go. Basically, pick him game here, $1.95 the Storm at $1.85 South. Which way are you leaning?
I think just given Melbourne, like you say, love playing in Queensland. I think some of their Origin players will start to put the foot down next couple of weeks. They looked decent enough in that game against the Warriors, came from behind to win. And we haven't even mentioned his name yet, Nico Meaney. Is he a SuperCoach keeper or what?
Well, I mean, I had him and then I sold him, and now I'm starting to regret that decision. How are the Storm looking during Origin? Which buys do they play? I'd have to look at it myself. He won't be there, obviously, in Origin. Yep. So I think during those periods, he's just playing round 16 out of those 3, and it's against the West Tigers. So, look, I think, do you have him at the moment? If you do, you're definitely holding. If you don't, are you breaking the bank to get him in? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not, with that round 13 buy in mind. And I guess that's a good point of conversation, maybe not so much particularly around Nick Meaney, but around some of these players that we want to be finishing the year with. How much focus should we be putting on 13, 16, 19? Or is it a case of now, if you can upgrade one of those cheaper options, be it a Khan Pereira, potentially a Warbrick, even shifting an Alamotti or someone of this kind, if you're still holding, upgrading a Hammer, for example, would you go to someone like a like we say there, Meaney, Garrick, getting him back, Ronaldo, Talakai, these high ceiling players that you'd be happy to finish the year with.
Yeah, that's the dream, I guess, with the trades at the moment. If you can get a player who's going to be handy for you during the bye period and play some of those weeks, but someone that you're not going to have to sell after round 19, basically, someone you can just finish the year with and play for the next 17 rounds. So Meaney arguably does fit that bill, I guess. If it depends on Paps, a lot of it. I mean, is Pappenhausen going to come back anytime soon? There's no suggestion that he really is. I mean, if you bought Meaney soon and then Pappenhausen come back in a couple of weeks, you'd be pretty pissed, I guess.
No, he's cast. Paps is done. He's not playing. And even if he comes back, I said this from round one, if he comes back, before round one even, if he comes back, he's not kicking goals this year. They are not doing that to his right knee. I think goal kicking made up something like 35% of his output last year. Paps is just going to be a run-of-the-mill 60-point fullback, even when he's back. So,
I want to get that clipped up, what you just said then. Nah, look, I probably agree with you. The goal kicking, there's no way going to put that on his shoulders when Meaney's doing a decent job at it anyway. So that's definitely, like you're saying there, 35% or whatever. That's a big portion. So, yeah, either way, Meaney is probably, if you're getting him in, I have no qualms.
Very quickly, one more on the Storm. When do we start that fire sale? When do we get rid of potentially Meaney still? Definitely Munster, Welch, Grant. When are we getting rid of these guys, knowing that they're not there around 13? I think they'll back up 14, but then after that, it's a pretty cooked schedule for those Origin guys.
Yeah, for me, I've kept Grant in because I really don't think there's another great 9 option. But Munster's case, I've got rid of him already. There's so many sixes at the moment. Brown and Walker in particular, both probably play in round 13. So I think if you're holding Munster, maybe not this week because he's playing a Suncorp, but definitely soon.
For what it's worth, I'm not selling Harry Grant at all this whole year. I can get away. I feel like I can get away with just having Robson there. Just looking at Robson's buy here, has a buy around 15, which is great because Harry Grant will play that week. That's a non-Origin affected week. And then I get a look at Robson 16, 17, 18. Round 19 may be a problem. But beyond that, like if I just cop an AE that week, I save 2 trades over that Origin period around hookers. And then come round 21, 20 even, again, Robson will get a run, 21 to 27. I haven't spent a trade on hooker the whole year. I would have held Harry Grant and Reece Robson from round 1 to round 27.
That is very ideal, and if I was you, I'd be doing the same thing. I've got Sonny Luke, though, sitting in my reserve hooker, who has just been a nightmare of an own this year. He promised a lot, not his fault, but hasn't really delivered.
There's been a bit of that this year. Okay, 20... sorry, why am I saying 20? Rounding us out here on... Actually, sorry, kicking us off. We're a little bit muddled here tonight. Kicking us off on Sunday afternoon. Now, take note of this. 1:50 p.m. kickoff. So that will affect lockouts on Sunday. Just that 10 minute earlier, it may come in handy or may work against you. Okay, West Tigers here again. They're coming off a win, but they're the outsiders here. The Dragons coming off a couple of poor losses. Something's off at the Dragons. They're just... What is it? The gifted one, Zach Lomax, is now the shifted one. He's been dropped.
I think they're just not very good, to be honest with you. Lomax needs a new home, doesn't he? He's not that bad of a player, is he? Like, he shouldn't be playing New South Wales Cup this week. His best is good enough. His best, you'd be in an Origin conversation. So I don't know what is happening at the Dragons. The Tigers, we were sort of saying that about the Tigers a week ago. Mm-hmm. A win makes the world of difference, doesn't it? But when you beat the reigning premiers, the two-time consecutive reigning premiers, can't do much more than that. So they're $1.95 in this game, and I'm surprised they're not favourites.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit closer than that at kickoff. The names here that I want to talk about for the West Tigers, at least. Jareem Buller. Averaging 50, I think, in his 2 weeks in the NRL thus far. If he keeps doing that, he's going to make a stack of cash. Just fullback eligible as it is at the moment. I think something like, as we record tonight, more than 12,000 teams have traded him in. So people are rushing to him at $200,000. I say to you, is he a boom or a bust?
I don't think he's a bust. It's more about the options at one because most of the time, for the last few years at least, we've played with two gun fullbacks, and that's been just the way you probably have to do it. But going to Buller, I mean, at 200k, obviously you're making great money and using it elsewhere, but you're giving up one of the good fullbacks in this competition. Maybe the fullbacks aren't going as well as they usually are. I mean, Turbo's a bit busted. Paps isn't even there. Tedesco's not doing much. It leaves really just Latrell and Reece Walsh, and they're both going to have Origin, you'd think. So, I mean, I can see why people are flocking to Buller. I don't think I will, but it's going to make you a lot of money, isn't it?
Potentially, yeah. I'm just looking at their draw here. The West Tigers, as we say, the Dragons this week, then away to South Sydney. Then they have the Cowboys, then a bye round 13. So, importantly, we come back to those round 13 coverage. He won't be offering any of that. Round 14, home to the Raiders, then the Titans, then the Storm, then another bye. So, at best case, you're getting 6 games out of Buller in the next 8 weeks. That may be enough, though, all things considered, to make a bit of cash. And then round 17, you flick him on to someone else who's potentially coming back from Origin, or there are options there, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, there is. And like we said, there's not the one jersey this year isn't as sacred maybe as it has been in the past. So you can afford to possibly run a cheapie there. It's just how you use the extra money that you get from selling one of these guns to go to Buller.
Quickly on the Dragons, Jack Tabellin, I think he played 70 minutes in the middle the other day. He moved from lock to prop. So, again, if you're trading him in, just be mindful of that. We've mentioned Lomax. I can't imagine he'll be out of this team for too long. He is someone who I was actually looking at getting in a couple of weeks ago, so glad I avoided that. Jack Bird, another name that we'll mention very quickly here. Any takers for Jack Bird as it stands?
Not for me, but Dragons in general do have a good run during this period coming up. Just on the buys again, they only missed the round 16 bye, and they play the Dolphins in the first week, which, no offense, not the hardest game. It's not an easy game either. Nothing's easy for the Dragons. So, honestly, Lomax would have been almost a target for me this week. But he's been dropped. So, it's tricky.
And probably the Dolphins' worst loss to this point was against the Dragons down there at Wollongong. Okay. Just like we said on Nico as well, though. Like Ben Hunt, he probably makes these players around him 1.5 times better. He won't be there for that period. Yeah. Or at least he'll be in and out. So just be mindful of that when you're thinking of these Dragons players. Middle game on Sunday, the 4 p.m. kickoff here. The Roosters and the Cowboys. Now, this one interesting because the Cowboys, on paper at least, this game at the start of the year, we probably would have thought this was a top 4 battle. The Cowboys probably battling to keep pace with the top 8 at the moment. Roosters $1.25 favourites here. Cowboys $4 outsiders. The line 12.5. The Roosters 2 from 2 with Manu at 5/8, and again he's named at number 6. So still no sign of Sam Walker.
Yeah, interesting. Apparently he did play well last week in New South Wales Cup, Sam Walker, but still no spot for him. Not even on the bench. I guess they're running 2 hookers with Jake Turpin named in the 14 jersey. It leaves them pretty thin in the back line. I reckon Corey Allen, Jackson Borlo, and Drew Hutchison all featuring in the centre 3/4 line. Didn't hurt them last week too much, but I don't think it's a team that's going to carry them to premiership success, basically. But they are playing the Cowboys this week, and there's no two ways about it. Their effort the other night against the Sharks was just dreadful, to be honest.
Are you holding Valentine home still, or you sold him?
No, I did get rid of him. I'm not... Like, the week I did get rid of him, he got 95, so he made me pay for it, or 100 or something like that. But I did get rid of him. I think you kept him.
I kept him, and much like Harry Grant, I'm happy to keep him there. I know he's going to play Origin, but don't forget, he's a centre, so he's not making 30 tackles, we don't think anyway. If he gets through Origin unscathed, the Cowboys can't afford to rest him. He will be backing up every game. They're in that predicament now where they don't have the luxury of resting players, maybe like they did last year. Valentine Holmes running at Drew Hutchison this weekend. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah, look, he's still scoring well this year, despite the Cowboys' woes. 63 average. He has 2 scores at over 80, which is good going for a centre. I mean, I probably should have held him in hindsight. I got that wrong. I'd say the only thing knocking your plan is obviously Origin, but then he also has a bye round 15 when you would have wanted him to play.
Yeah.
So there is a few games he's going to be missing, but if you can get through that, the back end of the year looks good.
Yeah, I think I like their finals month. I think they've got one bye round in 23 to 26 inclusive. I'm pretty sure they do anyway. But after that, I think it just opens up nicely for them. Round 27, if I'm not wrong, against the Dolphins, I think. So he's probably someone you want to be playing with that last week. Or you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think they do have the Dolphins.
26. So Dolphins in the grand final week for comps head-to-head.
Yep.
It is Penrith, though, away in round 27. So not easy in the last round of the year, but 26 looks okay.
Again, though, Penrith, we saw last year, I think they played the Cowboys around 26, 25 last year. They rested everyone. And Val actually scored a hat-trick in that fixture. So there you go. Just some other news here, team news for the Cowboys. Heelan Lukey's back. So he was back and then he was injured. Now he's back again. Chad Townsend expected to back up despite that calf concern. If he doesn't, we think Dearden to 7, Drinkwater to 6. I don't know. Maybe Val plays fullback this week.
Yeah, well, that would throw a cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it? That'll probably help his scoring even more, you have to say. I don't know. The Cowboys in general, they just don't look anything like the team we saw last year, and I don't really understand why. Yeah, Heelan Lukey back as a draft option, perhaps on the waiver wire tonight.
They're cast, the Cowboys. They're cast. Okay, last game of Magic Round. I think this will be a really good game. The Titans and the Eels. Titans, they were pretty impressive against Manly and showed a bit of grit about them. You can't often say that, but the conditions suited them. It was really Kieran Foran tonight, wasn't it? He was injured, he battled on, and he steered them to a win against the odds. Manly were favourites in that one as well. They'll have to do it against odds here as well. $2.95, topsport.com.au, 7.5 start. They are getting it. Parramatta coming off that training run against the Knights last Friday night.
Yeah, won't Kieran Foran's body thank him so much when he finally retires, because he is just injured all the time. Yeah. He continues on though, and he's obviously important to that team, just his leadership and seniority in a young side. I think the star of the show for Titans, obviously I've mentioned him every week, is Fafita, yet again, over 100 last week, another try from dummy half, which just shows his power. Still good base as well. I think the only negative of his good form is that he will be picked now for Origin, but like you with Harry Grant, I don't think I'll be parting ways with David Fafita anytime soon.
No. Yeah, he has to be Origin. I think particularly now that we think, Jeremiah Nanai suspended 4 weeks, so I think he will definitely miss Origin 1 as it stands. 10, 11, 12, 13. He may have just made it, but I don't know if you can pick a player coming off 4 week suspension heading into Origin. Not to start anyway, so we'd have Fafita there. Just some bad news for the Titans. Brimson out. Not that we're playing with him. I started the year with him. I actually looked at him last week. I was actually thinking of getting him back in when Turbo was ruled out, and I'm glad I didn't, because he's injured again. That sees Jaden Campbell come into the fold there.
Yeah, it isn't out for them. It does help, I guess, Jaden Campbell, probably someone we would expect to start at most NRL clubs. He finally gets his chance. Do you think maybe if Jaden Campbell does play well the next few weeks, when Brisbane comes back, we could see Tanner Boyd shift out, or do you think they're locked with that halves pairing?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Foran, his body probably doesn't hold up. Like that, yeah. It may be the answer to a tough question there for the Titans. It may be handed to them on a platter, and it may be resting Foran, or we saw even Sexton when he came in, played well but got injured. So injuries, they've got the luxury, like most other clubs don't, to rotate their spine, and they all seem to do a serviceable type job there. But we will watch on with that one. The Eels, we have to talk about Hopgood. Another ton last week. He's entrenched himself in that in the conversation of top 10 SuperCoach players come the year's end. He's starting in jersey 13, at least we think. He's named there. Maddo named off the bench. So we may see a late switch, though. We saw this round 7 where Hopgood was relegated to the bench. I think Madison started in the middle, Cartwright on an edge. They can't drop Hopgood now. He just gets through too much of that scrappy donkey work for them.
No, and he scores so well when he does that. His points per minute is off the charts, really base, and he even has some good attacking inputs as well.
Yeah.
Predominantly last week, you'd have to say it was due to Newcastle's ineptitude. I watched Cowboys Thursday, and I thought that's the worst performance of the year, but then you only had to wait 24 hours to see a worse one by the Knights. I don't know what they were doing. And that led to some massive scores. Moses, I think, got 143 or 47.
Yep.
Brown was up around over 100. So was Gutho. So if you had Eels players last week, you were laughing. And I guess they come into calculation this week as potential buy targets with they're playing round 13 as well. So big push for Eels players this week, perhaps.
Yes, perhaps stick around for that. Now, I did see a bit of chat on Twitter. I've been a bit vocal about it in the Cody Walker versus Dylan Brown scenario. Look, well done to those who held Dylan Brown last week. I wasn't one of them. Tommy, you were. As it stands, Cody still got 73. I think if we take the 4-week view like I did at that time, Cody's made 250k and scored 300 plus points. Anyway, not banging my own drum.
Yeah. Just on Cody, I know you were planning on selling. I don't know if you still are, but both him and Brown, I think they're the 2 sixes you want at the moment. Leading into this period, I don't think Cody Walker will make Origin, personally. Mm-hmm. Brown obviously won't. I think they're probably the 2 you want in your team.
Hold that thought. We're going to have a quick break. On the other side, we'll do our trading places, and we may be talking Dylan Brown in that. We're definitely talking some Parramatta Eels.
Are you suffering from frequent bouts of bet limititis?
Try TopSport. Other providers may significantly limit your bets, causing frustration and angst. TopSport clears that blockage by welcoming big and winning punters, giving you fast, effective relief on those bigger bets.
Overcome bet limititis by downloading the TopSport app today.
Brought to you by TopSport. Feel the excitement.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Yes, that number on your screen, 1-800-858-858, topsport.com.au. All of the best odds in sport and racing domestically and right around the globe. If you are having any troubles there, that website on your screen, gamblinghelponline.org.au. Check that out if you are having any match dramas. Okay, Tommy, we are going to talk trading places. We do it every week at this time of the podcast. Tell us, what moves are you making this week, if any?
Well, I've got a blank space at the moment. I haven't made any yet. I've got 27 trades remaining, just for full disclosure, and about 160k in the bank. So I do have a bit of money. I feel like I wish I had a few more trades left. I've been a little bit crazy the last few weeks. I've had to be just due to outs. I will probably make a trade this week. I think I'll be getting rid of Sean Russell. He's not even named this week for the Eels, and in hindsight wasn't a good purchase by me. He's around 400k, so I can probably use his money and my money in the bank to get to someone half decent. Who that will be, I don't know. Possibly Connolly Lemuelu, who we haven't really mentioned too much tonight. Mm-hmm. Maybe the bird has flown with him. Like he's gone up heaps already. Low break even this week. I think might even be negatives. So he's going to make money, but is he someone I want to finish the year with? Not sure. So yeah, watch this space Thursday night. I guess we'll update.
Yeah, of course, as we always do. Just on Lemuelu there, yes, we didn't mention him when we spoke about Sharks Dolphins, but 120 last week, dual position player. He was a name from left field that you and I mentioned. I think it was maybe round 3, round 4. He scored that opening week against the Roosters, so that was really crucial to kickstarting that cash generation for him. That double last week will still stay in his rolling average for 3 weeks still. So you may say the bird has flown, but there is still money there to be made. I think as it is at the moment, he's made upwards of 300,000 or very close to it, maybe just under that, 260 thereabouts. So you can see him making more money in the weeks to come. The good thing for him that I didn't anticipate when I bought him in way back when, he's held that edge roll over Kenny Bromwich. So I think we all thought that he was going to make way when Felice Kafusi came back from suspension. Then Kenny was suspended, and now he's forced his hand there. Wayne Bennett's given him that edge roll, which is really, really good.
Yeah, and he's just genuinely playing well. He runs a great line. He can score some tries, so he ticks that box. I think the only negative for me is that the Sharks this week, tough game. Then they have the bye next week. They're a Storm. So the next 3 weeks, you're not going to get immediate return. I mean, he's still going to make money, but point scoring wise, probably not the best option.
He's not going to burn you, is he? Like, he's not one of those names that's going to go out and probably score another 100 this week, and then it's like we saw Talakai last year. It was just bang, bang, bang. Suddenly he's 750,000. You can't get to him. Connolly Lemuelu, may hover around the mid-50s, maybe 70 upwards with a try, but we're probably not expecting him to score doubles every week.
Sorry, no, we're not. And I still think there's reason to get him in this week, but as you say there, you could probably wait a couple more weeks. They play round 13 against the Dragons, which definitely is a game to have your eye on.
Okay, no trades as it is at the moment, and forgive us, those watching YouTube, we don't have the graphics up tonight showing you our full teams, but Tommy, maybe take us through your 1 to 17 as it stands, and then maybe cap it off with your non-playing reserves this week as we go to air. Obviously, full disclosure, like you say, we will update our teams in the lead up to kickoff on Friday night, 6 p.m, that first game. So final teams, we'll put them on our socials Friday, 5 p.m. Stick around for that. But read us your team as it is at the moment.
Yeah, so Latrell and Walsh at fullback. Happy with both of them. Happy enough anyway. I think Walsh bounces back this week. Garrick, Manu, Tabio Fido, the Hammer. I think if he plays Origin, that's a big one again. I don't think he will, but if he doesn't, I'm really happy probably to hold him almost the whole year. The Hammer and Taruva, who is another I could definitely get rid of. But he's just lingered in my team and he stays there for now. Dylan Brown and Ezra Mam are still there. I wish I had Cody Walker, but I don't. Hines and Cleary, but as we said, both of those we will be looking at potentially getting rid of before Origin. Second row has been my favourite part of this year. I've pretty much had it the same for a number of weeks now for Feeder, Hosking and Preston. Really happy with all those guys. Horsburgh and Welch up front and Harry Grant. And in terms of non-playing reserves, there's not a lot of really relevant ones. Alamotti and Dunster are both good for about a 20, which is not helpful. Ray Stone's out this week. Josh Schuster, God knows what's happening with him. Sonny Luke has been annoying. So yeah, my bench is very ordinary outside my top 17, to be honest. Okay,
and 20, I think you said 27 trades remaining. Could be as low as 25 trades. Or 24 if you were to boost. You've got one boost left as well.
Only one boost left. That's another factor, and I think I definitely want to keep that for more of an emergency.
Yeah, looking at that probably around 2021 back in Origin. I will throw my trades up as they stand on your screens tonight. Just 2 trades for me this week, and I say just 2 because I have been tempted to use my boost. I've used 4 of them already. Out for me this week, Nathan Cleary going. Alofiana Khan Pereira gone as well. He's done his job. Coming in to replace them respectively, Mitchell Moses at halfback, Ronaldo Mulatalo centre wing, 26 trades remaining, 1 trade boost remaining, and salary in the bank, just 67,000. But 2 names there, Tommy, and I know you're probably going to ask me a couple of questions around why, and am I going to be fearful about not having Cleary this week? But I think this is the week I just have to make these 2 moves. Like I've said the whole year, just trusting my first instinct, and this was it.
Yeah, well, Cleary out is obviously the big news there. It's still 3 more games until Origin, but you've pulled the trigger this week. Is that due to, I guess, the break even and being able to get to Moses, or is it matchups based, or both?
A bit of both, I think. Cleary break even 160. And now break even isn't everything this time of year. Like if you're planning to hold Cleary, like plenty will be, that's fine. I can't argue with that, but I think we all agree Nicho Hynes is going to be in the Origin 17 somewhere. So come round 13, 14, you're going to be without a halfback. Now for me, outside of Adam Reynolds, I actually really considered it has to be Mitchell Moses. Doesn't play round 14, which is a concern. So one of the main reasons why I'm bringing him in is for coverage when Cleary and Hynes isn't there. Parramatta has the bye round 14. So could be caught short there. But I think all things considered, plays 13, 16, 19, goal-kicking option, has that massive score from that Knights game in his rolling average for 3 weeks, a break-even of 20 this week, plays the Titans. There's plenty of reasons to go to Moses this week. Now, why I'm going Moses as well is to be a little bit different to everyone, because I don't think people will like to hold Moses and Brown in a couple of weeks' time. I'm not holding Brown. So for me, I can't get Brown. I'm going Moses instead.
Yeah, I like that play. If you can't get one, probably get the other. When the Eels play well, they both generally go big. And like you said here, the Titans this week, the Raiders the week after, 2 pretty good games. And even during the middle part of that Origin bye period, they have the Dogs, Manly and Dolphins, and then the Warriors. So, and then the Titans again. So it's a great little run for the Eels through the next 10 weeks, you could say. I don't know how long you want to keep him for, but I think when he's playing, he'll be scoring pretty well.
Yeah, realistically, I just think all things considered, restings, buys, etc. I don't think I'm looking at getting Cleary back until at least round 21. So it's going to be very tough watching the Panthers
death-riding Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, and realistically, that's a third of the season, right? Like we're round 10 now, round 21. Like that's a long time to not have him. Again, I could very quickly change my tune, but Moses, he just has to be that guy for me as it is at the moment.
Yeah, and your other trade, I can't argue with that. Ronaldo's a season-long keeper. Sharks are flying, as we said before, so I really like getting him in at the moment.
Yeah, look, I haven't heard much chat around Ronaldo this week. I'm not sure why. Just 5% owned at the moment. We've seen already this year he's had, what has he got? 2, 3, 4, 5 scores in 9 weeks over 50. Again, 50 for a centre winger. You probably take that. 2 scores in the 90s. We know on his best day how good he is. He's probably blown a couple of tries as well throughout the year. So he could be averaging mid-80s, really. He's averaging 67 at the moment. I think up against the Dolphins this week, it's a good fixture, Magic Round. They play 5:30 p.m. on the Saturday. The field should still be in pretty good nick at that stage. The Sharks have a great run. Yeah, I'm all in Ronaldo this week.
Yep, I think Sharks players, any of them, you could just say yes to at the moment. They're flying.
I did mention the Nico factor as well. A little bit concerning, but I think Trindle serviceable. And Ronaldo on the end of that back line, the work's done for him. So all he has to do is catch the ball and put it down. We've seen already that's a little bit hard for him, but hopefully he can get that right over the next 10 or so weeks for as long as I'm hoping to hold him, if not the rest of the year. Anyway, my team as it is, fullbacks from top to bottom, Jermaine Asako and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Now just flagging here, early warning for myself, Dolphins have to buy in round 11. So I'm probably going to have to shift someone in the centre wings and use Hammer's duel, so I have a playing fullback that week. That's a problem for me. Centre wings, Ronaldo Mulatalo, Valentine Holmes, Joey Manu, Connolly Lemuelu, 5/8, Cody Walker. Halfbacks this week, Nico Hines, Mitchell Moses. Second row forwards, Jermaine Hopgood, Jacob Preston, Zach Hosking and Britt Nakora, all playing this week. Front rowers, obviously I got in Britt last week, 58. Had a try assist in that. But much like Ronaldo, I think Britt at the moment is a pod, just 5% owned as well. It's just great territory outside Nico. We've seen even Trindle hits him short as well, start of the year. Front rowers, Joey Tarpanay, Christian Welch, and hookers, Harry Grant, Reece Robson. Non-playing reserves, Braden Williami, Paul Alamotti, Greg Marju, who I'm happy to hold. Phoenix Crossland, I don't love it, but it was him or Nicarima. I wish I went Nicarima in hindsight. Josh Schuster, Matt Dury, Franklin Pele, and Davi Moali. So I'm all in on that top 17, really.
I think a lot of teams would be, though. A lot of these 200k players that we started with, they've just been busts, as they often are in this game. I think the biggest talking point out of your team is your 2 fullbacks are Asako and Hammer. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah.
I think, there's 150,000 players in SuperCoach this year. I think there'd be about 100 with that combination. That's very pod, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't love it. And like I sort of said, I know there's going to be dramas there in a few weeks. I think it's an easy downgrade, though. Like, I'm not getting Garrick this week. But the duels just make that easy. I'll be getting Garrick in before round 13, I feel. So, Garrick.
I guess there's a reason why you're called Fins and Tins, and you've got 3 Dolphins starting this week. 2 of them as fullbacks, so You'd be riding them against the Sharkies on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Sharks don't turn up on Saturday as it is at the moment. Maybe Nico, Ronaldo and Britt. The rest of them can stay home. Okay, let's do some questions in our talking points tonight. We will get through a couple of these. We've got plenty. Firstly, Tommy, one of them here from our good mate Adam Blundell says, are you guys headed to Magic Round? We answered this at the top. Unfortunately not. Are we going next year?
We need to go next year. If we don't go next year, I'm not doing the podcast.
Okay. Alex Brigo, another friend of the show, says potential captaincy for Joey Manu this week. Good fixture against the Cowboys. Sunday afternoon footy. Are we overcomplicating it there, Alex, and just slap that C on Nico and be done?
It's going to be hard to say no to Nico against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are leaking a lot of points, and Hines is scoring a lot of points, so he'll be my captain. Yeah,
Turner Meister says here, we mentioned this throughout the pod tonight, Max King named after being ruled out for 3 to 4 weeks. Does he play? Yeah, you have to think yes. Why name him if he's not playing?
Yeah, I think so. Like we said, though, they have so many injuries, so they would be desperate to get him back. But you're not going to name him for a Friday game as well. Like, it's not like it's 5 days away. It's in 3 days' time. So I obviously think he's good enough to go.
Lockie Hodson here. Now, this is a good talking point. Jack DeBellin or Corey Horsburgh for Stefano Utukamano. Says even though the Big Red might be in for Queensland, again, I might just reword this a little bit. If you had to pick one of those two, both dual position players, obviously DeBellin's not going to play Origin, but is there more upside to Horsburgh beyond round 13 that we think we can keep him, play him every week till the end of the year?
This is a great point in question because I really didn't think of DeBellin at all. And I got in Horsburgh last week. I was really happy with it. I still am happy with the decision with a 98 last week. But DeBellin ticks a lot of boxes in terms of his run in the next 10 weeks. Plays a lot of those buys, scoring really well. I don't know. It's a dead heat between those two, honestly. I think both are really good options at the moment.
Let me throw another name.
Yeah, Origin for Horsburgh is a big consideration, which I probably didn't even expect to have to consider.
All right, throw another name at you quickly. What about Nelson Asofa Solomona? He was damaging against the Warriors on Anzac Day. He was first up off a spell, though, so I'd love to see that every week from Nas. He was set for that run. Like, that was his grand final. Like, if we're talking racing parlance, he was set for that run against the Warriors. Would you go Nas?
Yeah. He'd be below the other two for me, only because historically, like his average the last 3 years before this one, 54, 53, 52, he's never been a great scorer on SuperCoach. He's averaging 68 this year, but it's only 3 games, so I probably want to see him do it a few more times.
Yeah. Okay, we will whip through some of these other ones here. Jackson Stew says, thoughts on Kiraz, and is it too late to bring in David Fafita?
Not too late for Fafita, only because I think you could end the year with him. But then again, you're going to have to miss him through Origin. So that's a tricky one. He's just so good. He's very hard not to have at the moment, even with Origin looming. Kiraz, what do you think about Kiraz? I'm not sure.
No, not for me off an injury, Kiraz. I think there's other options there. He's very good, but the Bulldogs are just decimated. Yeah. Anyway, just on Fafita, no, not for me either, but that's purely my circumstance. I hate watching the Titans play because I think we said this last time we did a podcast. Fafita's now doing everything that we've ever wanted him to do, and that's make 15 runs, 25 tackles, and, you know, we barely mention his name because he doesn't have that barnstorming 35-point run in him where he makes 6 tackle busts and 35 metres. I like both of them. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd go for Fafita. Brock Handley says here, Cleary out this week or next. As you can see, I'm going this week, but I think I'm cutting my losses now before that cash gets away from me.
Yeah, it's what's the word? A big balls play in a way, but it's smart. I'm probably just too scared to play without him, but he hasn't been that great lately, and he doesn't seem to have the goal kicking. So definitely a case to be made to get rid of him this week.
Damien Arnold here asks a couple of questions. We'll start with one of them saying, is Maddo still a buy now? He's coming off the bench. A name we haven't mentioned tonight, Andrew Davey. He's getting a start. Makes the move back to Parramatta from his time at the Sea Eagles and then the Bulldogs. I don't think he ever made his Bulldogs debut. He was handy at Manly, but comes back to Parramatta here, the club where he did find his first taste of NRL. Does he start? I don't know. I think this is one of those silly buggers from Arthur.
Well, on the flip side, yeah, Cartwright's been dropped to the bench, which is he'd been playing quite well this year and scoring quite well. I'm not going to be looking at Andrew Davey personally. Madison, it's just hard to know what they're going to do with their team. He's named on the bench. Whether or not he's there, I don't know, but it's not a risk I really want to take.
Sorry, I've just read ahead here. Now, what's to come from Jay Fred, who loves an elaborate multi.
Too.
Yeah, we might finish on a laugh. Dan Sharpie says Marju to Mulatalo. I'm not going to say no. I went AKP. Tommy gives the thumbs up. I went AKP, but yeah, if you think Marju's bleeding cash and you want to get rid of him, obviously has a bye this week. Mulatalo is the one to get. Another one from Damien Arnold says, do we keep Val for 11 and 12 or sell him now? Again, origin in mind. Very quickly, hold or sell Valentine Holmes.
If you're holding, I'd hold until origin at least.
Minnow17, is it time to get rid of Turbo or Walsh? Or both? I got rid of both last week.
Turbo wasn't someone I wanted to get rid of. I had to, though. So I don't know. Turbo's an interesting one this week. It's going to be good to see how he bounces back and if he can.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, to be honest.
Another one here, Mitchell Labina. Again, same question, Turbo or Walsh. Who are we moving on? He says, I'm leaning towards Walsh, but he will be a scary watch. Magic round against the Seagulls, not owning him. I read this quote today, Tommy, and I read it because I Googled quotes about fear. I said, and there was something along the lines of, and to be honest, I don't even have it on me, so this is a bit of a pointless story, but it was something, don't let the thought of fear hold you back from making a courageous decision. Courage always triumphs fear. We're getting deep here on a Tuesday night. If you can think it and you want to do it, is what I'd say to that.
Neither of them are must-keeps at the moment. I mean, Walsh's game this week against Manly is probably scary. It's fear to not have him. So maybe next week for Walsh. Turbo, I don't know. It's funny, like playing SuperCoach without Turbo is very scary as well, but the scoring this year just doesn't back it up for him yet. He hasn't been that good and he hasn't been that fit.
No. Tyron Bishop 01 says, do I sell Matto and get Hopgood back in? Seems a bit sideways to me. Like, Matto could come on and play 65 minutes, 60 minutes even is probably enough. He's got good points per minute. Hopgood is more of that grinding type, you know. He'd probably need 70 minutes Hopgood to be relevant. Matto may only need 55, 60 minutes to make a case.
Yeah, it's pretty much of the same, so I don't know if it's worth spending one of your 46 trades on.
Blake Curtis 83, should I consider Ruben Garrick as a buy this week at such a low price or wait another week? I'd be waiting, personally. Break even of 88 this week against the Broncos. He's going to have to play well to do that. We could be getting Garrick sub 500k next week, which is phenomenal to think.
Yeah, I don't think this is a game that screams out you have to get him now. And you probably could wait another week. I agree with you.
Okay, I think that's about it of the serious ones, but we will finish on a laugh, on a high. JFred101 says, boys, multi this week. Tom Trbojevic, Saab, Herbie, Cobbo, $18.50. Yeah, I mean, if you want to make a donation to Top Sport, that's probably a good way of going about it. But another one here. Sorry, what was that? 1-800-858-858. Another one here. He says, Twal the GOAT for 3+ tries. Tigers to win 51+ at 45,451 to 1. See you boys on my yacht.
Jeez, this will test the bet limititis, won't it? Trying to get on for 45 grand multi. I mean, it should be 100 grand because the Twal's not going to score one, let alone 3.
Yeah, what's he been now? More than 100 games, I think, without a try. He's got a sense of humour, Alex Twal. You saw that Instagram story with Nofaluma the other day. Tell you who has a sense of humour, this bloke, JFred101. Let's leave it there, Tommy. Big round 10 action coming up. What are you looking forward to most?
the magic of Magic Ground. Hopefully Suncorp Stadium pitch holds up, and hopefully my SuperCoach scores go up as well.
All eyes on Suncorp this weekend. On our socials as well, at SuperCoach365, that's where you'll get our final teams, our captain's thoughts, and our trades as well when Tommy confirms that. Great to have you along. Great to be back tonight. Same place, same time next week. See you then.